What's up, everybody, and welcome to tonight's webinar brought to you by GoRout and the NAIA. GoRout is the official coach-to-player communication system of the NAIA, and tonight we will be going into all things one-way communication. What it is, why it is, how it works, and who can use it. I am Casey Proctor. I will be your host tonight, and let's get into this thing. We've got a quick little agenda that we can run through here. Introduction, you already met me. We've got an awesome guest speaker joining us here tonight, a former coach of mine and a great friend, Ricky Walker. He and I will chop it up a little bit, going through all things one-way communication again for 20, 30 minutes. And then after that, we have another gentleman joining us, another internal member of the GoRout team, Jeff Thorne. He will hop on, do a quick little demo for everyone here tonight and anyone who downloads after, touching on all things GoRout Diamond, showing the entire system, all of its features, and shedding a little light on the 2.0 updates that are coming out for this upcoming season. At the end, we'll have a Q&A portion for any questions that come up for anyone here throughout the webinar. At the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A section. I believe you'll also on your end see a chat. Please submit any questions to that Q&A box. And there at the end, when we wrap up with Jeff's demo, we'll get to everybody's questions, and feel free, point those at myself, Coach Walk, or Jeff, or all three of us, what have you. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say and answering all your questions. So without any further ado, Coach Walker, newly appointed head coach, interim head coach, I believe, for now at Oregon Tech, recruiting aficionado, the greatest pitching coach I've ever had. Walk, why don't you hop in here and tell us a little bit about yourself?
All right, what's up? Happy you guys all be here. Yeah, as Casey said, served as his pitching coach at a junior college, Barstow Community College down in Southern California. Um, so he reached out with this opportunity for GoRout and us to be a partner with that, and it was a tremendous honor. But a little bit of experience here. Been coaching 19 years college baseball. Coached at the D2 level, the D3 level, the NAIA level, a couple different schools and junior college. So, that's I don't want to bore you, but that's just a quick synopsis of that.
Hey, like I said, dude, it's a heck of a resume you've got, and you have earned the opportunity that you're in now, dude. I've already told you, but I'm proud of you and looking forward to following the Owls through the 2025 campaign. All right, well, let's just dive into the meat and potatoes of this thing, dude. First and foremost, again, the main goal here tonight is talking all things one-way technology. Baseball and softball. Obviously, our personal expertise and experience lies in baseball, but we're around both sides and familiar with all, and the rules are pretty reflective of each other currently. So first and foremost, Walk, can you just give me a quick run through on, in your perspective, why it is this trend of technology into baseball and softball today?
Oh, well, everybody's looking for the next advantage, right? You saw Major League Baseball make big moves with the whole pitch comm, all that stuff. And basically, I think when you look at it, everybody wants their piece and an opportunity to find ways to hide their signs or implement different ways to call pitches or structure your defense, call offensive side, anything, all of it. And, when you look at it, you want to find what's user friendly. You want to find what's affordable. And there's a lot of options out there. We last year chose GoRout. Didn't know it was going to be a partner of NAI. It was just after the research we did, I was certain when I spoke to our previous head coach that this is the product we needed. We ran with it last year, and we're going to keep keep using it. We definitely like the product for sure.
Sweet. What's if you had, one or two things that you could point to that on a general scope, you really just touched on a lot there, but the major impacts that implementing technology, whatever system any team should choose,
Mhm.
the most prominent impacts that you've seen it have on the game as a whole, not just your process or your team's, day to day, as the game as a whole, how has it changed, updated, whatever? What have you noticed the most?
I mean, for us, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of this is starting with game speed and pitch clocks and everything that goes on with it. Um, you know, Casey, when you played for us, there was multiple times, I had a number code system. I'm yelling it out. The catcher's looking at his card. Next thing you know, there's a guy in second. He's looking at his card. He's got 5 different indicators and he's streaming something in. So when you look at game speed, you got to be functional within the clock and get out what you need to get out and information as quick as possible. Um, that's where this came in is it's quick, it's easy. For us, everybody on the field's got one. So when we're running our pitching, I'm flipping through the different hitters because we have lineup set and tendency set, and literally a new batter steps in. We don't, our coach we'll have our position coach, and he'll be out there helping some positioning. Game's always going to change, but they'll have a set position that literally the batter steps, pitch is called, everybody's looking at their watch, they know where they're going. And a lot of great things such as just on the offensive side, like, we could talk to our hitters about things that we want to say to them that maybe we can't, such as control your breathing. Are you on
Hmm.
that? You're fine, so we put in a lot of little quick memos in there just to remind them. And so that's where, for us, it becomes positive and beneficial because we're able to just get in front of them what maybe we think we want them to hear at that time, aside of just the positioning and sometimes just confidence.
Right. Well, I mean, that's, one of our call to arms big time here is the customization of it and all. And I mean, it's going back to, like you said, the system that we had at Barstow. I mean, I played at a competitive high school in outside of Wichita, but the attention to detail that you and BK paid out there, like it was borderline shell shock for me, an 18-year-old moved out of state, brand new group of guys, trying to impress your new coaches, and just the detail was so finely tuned, and for good reason. This all the success that we had was due, I think, a lot into our process and how detail oriented and focused everybody on the roster got to be in their job. But it was a lot, and at I don't know. I've in my heart of hearts, we've talked about this before. I'm like a traditional baseball guy. So I have had my own hesitations about the evolution of the game. Um, but I can also definitely say from my own experience that something like this would have simplified our system there just so
Yeah,
dramatically.
no, it would have, and it did for us. I mean, you hand out a playbook for our guys, and it's 50 pages long. And they still need to own the playbook. They still need to absolutely know everything in it because you never know what can happen, right? Everybody still needs to know everything, but being able to condense that playbook into a tablet and send out, you know, bunt with or steal with help or left field's playing here. I mean, that's the great thing is we're customizing it so well finely tuned that when we're putting it in, it actually has a slide downs of each position. So we have our numbers from our position coach that basically tells them from a base set, are they moving right, moving left, how many steps, how many forward, back, et cetera, to get them in position for that current hitter. And we go in there and we build the team and we put it in there. And then, once we've ran our scatter reports and things like that, we'll go in there, we'll put those numbers in underneath each position. So that way, when it sends to that, it sends directly to the left fielder where he needs to be, sends it directly to the center fielder where he needs to be, to the right fielder where he needs to be. We put on first and third defenses with it. We'll put on our pick plays with it, more to the first base or something like that. But I mean, when you're talking about being able to just, you as a coach, you want to control everything, right? Well, you can't control everything, but one thing you can control is communication. And this gives you a platform to be able to get out there and make sure that guys, I mean, They're the only way that they don't know is if they're not looking.
Right. Right. Well, all right. I bouncing around a little bit on what I had organized, but piggybacking a little bit off of what I said just a minute ago about the hesitations
Mhm.
and seeing it real time between like on TV every night with our competitor in the major leagues and then the mix of it all in the College World Series, both men's and women's, just seeing all of it, it visually watching the game, it's a change, right?
Yeah.
And for again, a heart that is stuck traditionally in old school baseball, like if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, and what, like the intangibles and the semantics and the human error, and obviously eliminating all of that really does purify the competition. But did you personally? I know you're such an analytics guy that I assume you may not have, but did you have any hesitations personally about changing your
Um,
system?
I didn't in some way more for the fact of, as you said, I've always dove into the numbers. I mean, you could look back to, I had those charts of every pitch that you
Oh,
threw from winning your, first pitch strike to winning your 1-1s and
yeah,
your 0-2s and your success rates and how many times that from everything. Just more or less, I didn't want you to live analytically, but I wanted you to have the knowledge that, hey, if I throw a strike on a 1-1 count, I got a 70% strike of getting it out. That's how
yeah,
important this pitch is. So, recognizing that in the game, watching the game evolve, I wasn't hesitant so much to do it. What was the driving force was everybody else around us is doing it.
okay,
And you're watching the way that they're flowing. I mean, I'll use an example. We were down playing a SoCal NAI at a time and a couple years ago, and it was just funny. I mean, we had a system to where our catchers are calling it. We had an old system to where I'm actually talking into a speaker or a microphone. They're hearing the speaker, all of it, right? Well, I mean, just the technology that teams are doing when they're showing a game, from where we were playing, when they were hitting, the broadcast is coming from center field. When we're
oh
hitting,
yeah,
the broadcast is coming from home plate. I literally had my wife text me in the second inning after we were down 8-0. I can see all your signs. Now she knew the signs, but it wasn't hard for somebody to watch that and pick it.
yeah,
So it was funny. So we went old school. I was like, okay, I got all these bands in my bag. I throw out the wristbands, start calling out numbers. And it changed the dynamic of the series. I mean, the offense changed. So when that would happen, we are like, okay, we have to update from this because there were multiple times you're playing in wind, you're losing your voice, whatever. Somebody can't hear you and you're yelling out a set of numbers. And it's funny because you're watching the other team write down every number trying to track you, which is the funnest part about that. But, um, by the end of the weekend, you can't, you're looking at your other coach and going, you need to yell these numbers. I can't talk. Um, and for me, doing these signs, somebody's like, I can't see your fingers that well.
yeah,
So it was basically, we know we have to do this type of system to avoid getting picked as easily, and we need a user-friendly way to do it. And we were watching everybody what they're doing, kind of going, okay, kind of got to keep up with the Joneses. So um, you could be a purist and go, it's not for me, but at the same end, somebody's using it and they're having a lot of success. You're going, okay, maybe I need to make the change.
right. The I guess that, I mean, that's honestly something when I was just thinking about this conversation and going through everything, in its original roots on the highest stage and in the show. I mean, it started with weaponizing technology, and
Mhm.
so once that becomes an element, then it really does turn into more of a defense. So now with all the options that are out there, and with the experience that you had trying different things, you just walked through why you guys got to the point of using technology. What was it specifically about GoRoute that made you guys hop on board with us?
Yeah, I mean, so it was something about a year ago. I kept approaching our former head coach. We need to identify what
Uh-oh.
you got me?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. So we basically identified, okay, we're gonna go this route. We need to, like my coach, he was like, we're gonna look at every product out there. And started calling, started Googling, started researching, started emailing. And then it basically became, okay, we know we have an idea of some products we like. And GoRout was one of them, but it basically became, okay, when we go to the ABCA convention, you're gonna go to everyone and basically interview all of them and
Yeah.
identify the one that's the best. And I was clear, just associates. I mean, I'm not going to speak bad about anybody, but I mean, there were some people that were definitely more engaging than others. Um, I think all the products presented a an option of what we were looking for, but when we looked at the versatility out from the offense, defensive, um,
Having some technical difficulties out there in Klamath Falls.
things. How much can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, where did I lose you at?
It was what all the different ones offered you different things, and then considering what you wanted the most.
Yeah, it came down to accessibility, what was easiest and what was most affordable. There were some good ones out there, but we wanted to arm all our defense and our hitters with it, and GoRout provided that option.
Awesome. Is there one thing that you would say stands alone? Just from technology coming in, irregardless of what it is, whether it's GoRoute or it's anything else that you guys use, as far as one-way communication from you to a player, is there any one thing in particular that stands out as this is just leaps and bounds ahead of the status quo and going through traditional signs?
Yeah, I mean, what's ahead of the status quo is it's easy to use. Um, our guys loved it. I mean, as soon as the go route box arrived and it had all the watches in, our pitchers were like rejoicing they didn't have to look at any other kind of card or try and look at a sign and know what they're chasing for indicators anymore. So the excitement of our guys, like, and the buy-in of that, and having a product showing like we're taking the next level up to compete at the national level, which is a program that we are. So, um, that's what stood out. I mean, that was a big thing for us.
I think that is really kind of an unspoken part of it that, and I mean, doing this right now, this is fun for me, but my day job is on the marketing team, right? And one of the tougher messages to convey is the prospect of if you're not using, you're losing a little bit, and like there's an element of every time whoever the bigger dog is or the next level up, whether that's big league baseball or the school down the road, when you see that difference, like, or when you see someone else doing something, it puts that pressure on. And I do struggle at times to try to convey that message of like, I understand that feeling, but it's almost like everyone has to experience it on their own somehow and then find their way into whatever's going to work best for them and their process.
Yeah.
But the cool, definitely, without the install of your entire 50-page playbook, every fall, that's a huge relief, I'm sure, for both the players and the staff as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, our biggest excitement is now we get to run with it all fall, and our guys
Right.
get to know it a lot better. Um, hand off the reins to the pitch calling to our pitching coach now, and let him get familiar with it. It's really easy to learn, but we just, I mean, that's just it. Is we literally got it, hopped on a plane to Louisiana, and broke it out 2 days later at the Cajun Collision. And it wasn't much of a learning curve. It was, we're dialed, we're going, okay, time to go. Like, it was that easy. So that was pretty cool to be
Awesome.
pumped out and go.
I mean, the next thing I was going to ask was how you make sure everyone is on the same page. I mean, it sounds like your experience was that all you had to do was push the button and go, which is kind
Yeah.
of our whole thing.
Mhm.
But I guess, how do you use it in practice on a day-to-day basis? I know you said you do
Yeah.
your first and thirds and your bunties and your picks. Are you just running it through the devices at practice in segments, or what's that
So
like?
yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, we'll use it in our inner squads. Because obviously if we're gonna use it at game speed, our guys need to be familiar to looking at their watches. Um, that's what we were. We were the watch. I mean, the part could have a wristband if that's what you want. We've got both, but our guys mostly like.
There he goes again.
They need to get used to throwing with it on, and it's not like this heavy thing or restricting thing. Um, but it's part of what you do every day. You're going to do it at game speed. You need to implement it as many things as you can in practice.
Yeah. Is there any specific advice that you would give? I mean, I think really you just did a heck of a rundown as far as all the questions I had written down. You touched on them all, but is there any specific, going back to like the hesitation thing, before we wrap up our part here, is there anything specific that you would say to anyone that's on the fence about, not just personal philosophy or what have you, but how will this affect my process? How does this change my preparation? Is there any advice specifically that you would have for coaches on the fence?
I think when you look at your preparation, are you going to have to change what you're doing? And that's a big no. It's not going to change your prep. It's not going to change you from running spray charts. It's not going to change you from going back in and having your strategic plan of what you want to do offensively and defensively. It's just an easier way to send it in, and instead of some everybody, instead of getting maybe a card that tells you where you're positioning, you've got it loaded on a tablet. It may take you 5 minutes to create their roster and go through and transfer your notes from a spray chart into however you want to communicate it and on your tablet. So when that batter's up, you press send, they got it all. But there's nothing that's going to change the way you operate other than if you're just a traditionalist, you want to be out there doing all this. I mean, that's fine. That's fine.
Right.
That was one thing that me and my previous head coach even spoke about. He's like, man, I miss doing this. He's like, but this is easy. I press a button.
Yeah. No,
So
like I said, I mean, I think it comes down to a lot of just like personal flavor and philosophy in things too.
yeah.
Uh,
And
but you got something else? Froze on me again. All right. Well, all
yeah.
right, you back. Did you have something else?
No, I just you don't have to have your whole team equipped. You could literally just go pitcher and catcher, you know, and whatever works. But if you're already calling pitches and you're relaying them in, nothing's changing other than you got a tablet in your hand and you're pressing a button and
All right. Well, we'll take this opportunity to transition here. Um, Jeff, why don't you hop in here? We're gonna have Jeff Thorne, a senior account executive at GoRout here, run through a quick demo of GoRout Diamond for all you guys.
Sounds good. Thanks, Casey. Guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We're super excited about where GoRout's going in the pitch calling and in the diamond space. I'm a football coach by trade, 21 years as a college football coach, spent 20 years at North Central College, 13 as the offensive coordinator, my last 7, 2015 to 2021 as the head coach. And we were a pilot user of GoRout's football product. And I share that with you because, Casey had mentioned being a traditionalist and not, necessarily wanting to embrace where technology is taking baseball, softball. The same thing can be said about football. And the technology that the football product uses is the exact same technology as baseball. It's a different product, same technology. And, we embraced it, not wanting to be yesterday's news, did not want to be Kodak camera, where all of a sudden you disappear because you're not willing to adapt and adjust to how the game is changing. And not coincidentally, the year after we started using GoRout was our program's first national championship. And I do credit a lot of that to GoRout. Not all of it, but a lot of it, because we used GoRout in recruiting. It was a differentiator for us. Very, very few teams were utilizing the advantages that it created for our practice. What's exciting about version 2.0 of our Diamond product is there is now a practice mode. And you heard Coach Walker talking about how they use it for practice. Well, in an inter-squad game now, if you have as many as 18 watches, you can cover every player on both sides of the diamond, and the signals won't get crossed over when you go practice mode. You've got a home team and an away team, so it can really allow you to practice at a new pace, either give you additional reps or save you time. Either one of those, I think, are probably positives in the minds of coaches across the country. So what I want to do tonight is just take you through a short demo, and feel free to ask questions at any time. Hey, Casey, is there any way for us to get to the 2.0 slide just to show them the tablet? I'm going to go through my demo, share my screen and go through my demo.
There she goes.
Yeah, there it is. So guys, this is what our new tablet looks like, which is exciting for us. It's a really high-powered, high-processing tablet used by Fortune 500 companies across the country. It's a tier 1 cellular device, and it's got our super SIM card in it. So, this will be part of your package if you decide to go with GoRout. It's literally point and click on this thing. So having said that, let me jump into our demo. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah, you're good, brother.
It's we're good to go. Okay. So what you see here, coaches, is this is your sending device. This could be a cell phone for a club level team, at the NCAA level. And I know NAIA typically mimics the NCAA rules. The NCAA requires a locked down sending device. So this is one of the devices we could provide you. I would strongly encourage you to lean towards that tablet that I just showed you. And I'll explain why as we go through the demo. You can see there's 3 tabs at the bottom of the sending device. The first is games, and this is where you add a game. And it's as simple as clicking on the plus icon, clicking add new game. Now go ahead and type in your information. Click on save. It logs the date for you. Done. And now there's your new game. Notice over here, this is the player device. Looks like an Apple Watch. It is just a little bit thicker than your typical Apple Watch. But notice it's strictly the GoRout logo at this point because we have not toggled a game on yet. Once I do toggle a game on, and I'm going to do the Eastern Illinois, you see that all 9 positions populate on the device. This is where your players are now. If you have multiple devices to cover all your players, they will each choose their position. I'm going to choose third base because I've got a couple notes in for third baseman. And now you see the device is just waiting for a call now. So now you can see we also have offensive tab and defensive tab. We're going to start on defense first. This is completely customizable, all of these rows. And in each one of these rows, you have up to 40 characters that you can use to communicate with your players. So I have a fastballs folder. I've got an off-speed folder. I've got my pick plays, no doubles defense, bunt coverage. And then down here, I have names of coaches that I've done demos for. And what I suggest you do is name a folder for each one of your pitchers. Now, within that folder, this is Brian Del Rosso from out east. You've got your fastball in. You've got, obviously, you go fastball away. There's all these different ways that you can call your pitches because, again, each one of these rows, you have up to 40 characters. You certainly can use letters, words, numbers, whatever you decide is best for your program. So if I call fastball, there's your call, fastball in. There's a haptic response every time a new play is called. In other words, there's a vibration on the watch and a slight sound. You can't hear the sound on the video call, but your players will feel the vibration. They'll know a call has come in and be able to check on the wrist and know what the pitch call is and the location. Now, additionally, there's further notes you can put in here. But let me back up real quick and explain why we suggested to coaches to go to a pitcher folder centric sending device. What was happening early on when guys had fastball folder, off speed folder, is they'd have to click into the fastball folder, find their pitch they want, send it. Now, if the next pitch was still going to be a fastball and we wanted to go split her in, no problem. It's in the same folder. But now if you have bunt coverage or a defensive call that you want to add, you'd have to exit out of that folder, go to your bunt coverage, and then call your bunt wheel defense. The pitch clock is running. Okay, so that's where the suggestion to our coaches was to go to folders for each pitcher to really mitigate the issues of scrolling through all these different folders. So again, back to Del Rosso, not only do we have fastball and off-speed pitches in here, we also have the defensive calls built right into his folder. So that would be my suggestion if you're using the cell phone-like sending device. If you go with the tablet, it's going to be infinitely more efficient than what version 1.0 was. And it's exciting because not only is that one of the new bells and whistles that we have, I mentioned the GoRout practice mode, but we also are in talks and very, very near closing a deal with a third-party company that is going to allow you as a GoRout pitch call user to receive an email after every game with the reports of the pitches you called and the results. That can save you a ton of time. And that's something we're excited about unrolling with version 2.0. One of the other things that I think this system, going back to some of the things that Coach Walker was sharing that I think is important to understand, anytime you bring a transfer or a new coming player to your program, they're not going to have to worry about memorizing signs, memorizing number sequences, or anything else. They are going to get the call and the location and other calls as well, as I'm about to show you. So pitcher folder, you see this blue select hitter button. When we click on this, and again, this goes back to Coach Walker talking about the 5 minutes it takes him to download the opponent's roster and then put any pertinent notes in from your 643 charts or whatever spray chart system or scouting system you use. So we're going to click on select hitter. A new screen shows up and we can come down here and click on manage your lineup. And this is where we're able to add players. So let's go ahead and add a new hitter. Casey, what number did you wear?
29.
29. We're going to add Proctor. Okay. And we will save that. Click on done. And now you can see there's Casey. If we wanted to add a note, we would just click on that notebook icon. Tall and lanky is what I heard at the beginning of the webinar. Is that right?
Pretty close.
It was Proctor? Okay. That's not necessarily what we put in there. But let's say great speed. Dash, bunt alert. Okay. Third baseman. Hey, we want toes on grass. First baseman, toes on grass. And then we go ahead and X out of that. And if we selected Casey as our hitter. And we go back and to the Del Rosso folder and we go curveball away. Got curveball away. Great speed, bunt alert. Remember, this is the third baseman's watch, toes on grass. Guys, that's how simple the system is. It's really, really easy to navigate. Once Casey's retired, let's go to our second hitter, Anderson. Okay, Anderson's at the plate now. We're going to go with a changeup low and away. All right. I use this as the example of, hey, we're on the third cycle through the lineup, and let's work a hitter a little bit differently than maybe we did the first two at bats. So we're letting the entire defense know. Okay, if I go into the notes for Anderson, let me do that so I can show you. What we have for Anderson is, to all of our players, we're telling them, hey, we're working away. To our first and third baseman, toes on grass, shallow. And so those are the notes that are received then when Anderson is at the plate. If we back out again, let's go screwball away. Those notes continue to show up as long as that batter is still at the plate. Does that make sense to everybody? I can't see your faces, so I'm assuming yes. Now, defensively, as I mentioned, you've got your defensive calls built right into the same folder. If you want to pick play timing, go ahead and call it. One of the things that I loved about working with GoRout as a coach was that they were so receptive to feedback. In fact, they actually seeked it out because they wanted the product to be exactly what coaches want. GoRout's a company that's founded by Mike Rowley, a former baseball coach. His first hire was Joe Furco, a football coach. And our sales team is all former coaches. So we have a real sense for what coaches, how they like to be dealt with. And, you know, when we get feedback from coaches, we go straight to our development team and they go to work to try to make happen what coaches are asking for. So an example on the baseball side, Ed Matthew is a very good friend of mine all my years at North Central. We continue to stay in touch. We played golf earlier this summer and was with one of his GA. And so we finished the round. We're having a drink and some food. And he's sharing some of the ideas that he thinks could make the product even better. So one of the things he suggested in version 1.0, when you call a pitch, the pitch goes in, okay, to everybody that's wearing a watch. Now, the second thing is you want to make a defensive call. Say it's no doubles defense, okay, and you want to send that in. The pitcher and catcher don't necessarily need to know that. And what Ed shared with me is when you send that second call in and it goes to everyone, including the pitcher, and he's in his stretch and gets a vibration, that's a distraction. So we immediately went to the development team. They have fixed that. So in version 2.0, again, with that tablet and the columns, you're able to choose your pitch call and location. And then separately, you can choose your defensive adjustment. Those defensive adjustments, you can choose exactly who you want them to go to. So if you just want to adjust your outfield, boom, right field, center field, left field, send your note, send it. They're the only three that get it. And I think that's a really, really good adjustment that's been made to the product. And you know, we're going to want, guys, if you decide to jump on with GoRout, we're going to want your feedback as well to make this product the preeminent coach-to-player communication tool that's used in baseball, softball. So that kind of covers what we're able to do defensively. On offense, it's really no different. Just populate your offensive calls. You want to go safety squeeze? There it is. Your players don't have to do anything with their devices. They are always going to receive whatever the sending device is sending. Okay, so a really positive development happened last week. The NCAA Rules Committee convened, and several coaches across the country that are using GoRout technology wanted the NCAA to consider allowing first and third base coaches to have a sending device in the coach's box, provided it's a lockdown device. And it is preliminarily passed. I don't know that if it's final yet, but we did get word last week that the NCAA passed it. One of our director of of partnerships is not 100% sure that it doesn't yet have to go through another set of approvals. But that's a huge step in the right direction in terms of your ability to make your offensive calls very, very efficiently. If you can take it in the third base coaching box, that's a really good deal. We want to take a pitch, take a pitch. Okay. So again, extremely user-friendly, very self-explanatory. I'm 52 and no tech savant, and I was able to figure this thing out in just a couple of hours. So with that, guys, I don't have a whole lot more to share. Anybody have questions for me or Casey or Coach Walker?
Yeah, great job, Jeff. Any questions off of the demo, please just submit them to the Q&A, and we will get to all of those here very shortly. Jeff, not a tech savant, could have fooled me. That was smooth as butter.
We got a question right now. Good question. Do they break? So the devices are extremely durable. Okay. And going forward in version 2.0 and beyond, you will have the ability to select a military grade case for the watches. It'll cover the watch. It'll really help protect the screen. Obviously, if a ball were to hit the middle of the screen more than once, there's a chance it could crack. If it does, every one of our devices are covered by a full 100% lifetime warranty. We will overnight you a new device with a packing slip for you to send the defective one back to us. So you're covered in that way. Having said that, I do think it's a good idea to have an extra device on hand in the event that were to happen. Good question, though. Thanks, Coach.
Another one right in. This one's for you, Walk. What does Coach Walker think of the 2.0 version that Jeff just showed us?
Honestly, I'm pumped about it, to speak frank. You know, as Jeff said, all of us coaches that use this, we get to give our 2 cents in at the end, and that was my 2 cents, was make it a landscape. Because you saw Jeff work the drop down area, and that's a big reason why we stuck with the tablet instead of the phone, is the tablet gives you more space to drop down. But you know, when you got all the obviously offensive plays, that's all right there. But on the pitching end, you know, how we had it built was we had the folder for the fastball, we had the folder for the changeup, we had the folder for all the different pitches, and you press it, it dropped down and have that location. For this, I look at this and go, man, if I could load up that many pitches or defense with that many options that I'm not worried about drop down, I get a press and go. I think what you're looking at, that allows the ability to, when a pitcher shook off, you know, sometimes we didn't have enough time to get a new sign back in. Here it's like, boom, he don't like that, press the next one over. So I look at this and go, man, the speed and user friendliness of this, like, that's a big thing that we were excited about to see when I spoke to Casey a couple weeks ago.
Awesome. Now, Walk, I think you touched on this next question briefly earlier, but how many devices does your team have?
We have 14. Yeah. So we have 14.
Everybody.
Yeah, so we have one for our, obviously, pitcher and catcher. We have one for every position player in the field, one of our DHs, our courtesy runner, both of our coaches on the bases, and then we have one sitting in the case just in case we need something happens.
Jeff, what are the most common packages that you see otherwise if a team's not to outfit their entire roster?
Yeah, if they're not planning on outfitting the entire roster, anywhere from 5 to 8 devices. Now, keep in mind, coaches, the sending device, so the tablet that we're looking at here, that counts as a device, and it's the same cost. So let's say you wanted to cover, just for simplicity, as Coach Walker just shared, let's say you wanted to cover all 9 defenders, or your pitcher, catcher, and your other 7 defenders, so 9 plus your DH is 10. If that's as far as you wanted to go with the players, I do suggest getting an 11th as an extra, but then I think 12, 13 as sending devices. Many of our coaches, what we're finding, one coach calls the pitches, a different coach sets the defense. And so that's where you can start trying to formulate in your mind the number of devices that's going to be appropriate for your program. But the most common college packages that I've dealt with, and I'm Midwest and West Coast, is anywhere from 12 to 15 for college baseball, softball programs. That's been very common. Certainly there are programs who decide, budgetarily they can't quite get to that point yet. So they start with something like maybe 7 or 8. But those that have the wherewithal in the budget typically are going anywhere from 12 to 15. I do have a program in Iowa, D3 program, that is wanting to get 20 for that practice mode and to be able to practice at a different pace.
Awesome. Final one here, walk back to you, kind of piggybacking off of the first question of, do the devices ever break? What has your experience been in dealing with customer support when anything has happened?
It's been great. Fortunately, we didn't have any break. But we did have times where, we were in a smaller town and we had, that was a big thing that they showed us, when we went through that. That was a question we had. Okay, if we're in a smaller town, how does this work? And they made it clear that this is going to bounce off of, the closest cell tower. We had one where it just was not connecting to the cell tower. Gave them a call within a couple minutes, because we want to get it up and running, 45 minutes before game, just double check that there's nothing wrong. But, gave them a call. They literally from their end, connected us to the next cell tower. We were running just fine. So, when you look at, realistically, we didn't have any issues that broke, and every time we needed them, within our issue was resolved within 5 to 10 minutes, and we didn't have to worry about anything else throughout the game.
Awesome.
Yeah, Coach Walker, thanks for bringing that up. That is something that I kind of glossed over and didn't share with the coaches that are on the call. What makes GoRout different is that we're a private LTE based cellular network. We do not rely on radio frequency, in other words, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Every other provider in the space is relying upon radio frequency at like 960 megahertz, which is very, very easily scramblable. Again, not a tech guy, but I've seen pictures. This is the technology to incorporate if you want to have peace of mind knowing when you go to a game, you're going to have connectivity. And as Coach just shared, our support desk does a phenomenal job of troubleshooting. You will speak with a human being that speaks fluent English. So, you don't have the language barrier that sometimes you do when you call customer service places, and you'll be able to troubleshoot and get those watches up and running in short order.
Couple more questions coming in. Does the sending device have to be a tablet? How would I use a tablet at third base? Jeff, you can pick and choose what those devices are, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And Coach, that's a great question. When you're making your offensive calls, I don't think you need to navigate and bounce around nearly as much as what you need to do when you're calling your pitches. There's just not as many variables. You've got all these pitches with all the different locations. You've got hit and run and hit. You got fake bunt, steal second. You've got safety squeeze. You've got all of your offensive calls that are very, very easy to get to with the portrait mode of what the cell phone device really looks like. Really good question. You could go either way. Dealer's choice.
Next is, do you have any funding options so we can get more devices sooner? I can tackle this one. We work with an awesome company called TeamFi. Jeff has actually overseen a deal for a high school football team that was able to do a fundraiser through them. So, packages can be customized to your budgetary needs, but you can also run a fundraiser with us through TeamFi. And basically their entire deal is automation of a fundraiser. And that's a 0% fee taken off the top of that. I know all the fundraising that my schools did when we had a third party involved to, do the payment processing and everything for us. Massive fees came off the top of that. And we would always end up short of our goal by something because of that. So TeamFi operates, like the only money that they make is through tips from donors, and it's a super easy platform to use. Great guy, Cannon Dean over there runs the TeamFi operation, and outside of traditional crowdfunding stuff, they also have more novel ideas like liftathons, and they're working on a hitathon as well, which is more pertinent to everyone here tonight. That's not been launched yet, but outside of that, Jeff, do you have any more notes on funding for GoRout?
Yeah. Just if I could real quick, just kind of chime in on TeamFi, because all the years in small college football, dealing with fundraisers, as I'm sure you guys that are on the call have experience with. We vetted a bunch of fundraising companies. We landed on TeamFi. One of the biggest reasons we landed on TeamFi is you keep 100% of the money that's raised. But the other element there is the Dean family in the state of Michigan. If any of you guys are on the call from Michigan, Noel Dean and Dave Dean. Noel Dean is a Hall of Fame high school football coach from the state of Michigan. Dave Dean is a Hall of Fame wrestling coach from the state of Michigan. Their sons all went to the Ivy League or Penn State and wrestled. Two of them were multiple-time national champion wrestlers, one at Cornell, one at Penn State. Wildly respected family in the state of Michigan. So that really gave us another layer of confidence that this is a great company to work with. And Cannon's been fantastic. If you guys are interested in that, we just send your name and information to him. He'll reach out to you, and you guys can decide how you want to, move forward from that point. But they've been great to work with and really helped a lot of our schools that maybe struggle a little bit from a budget standpoint, raise the money necessary to get going with GoRout.
One team that had a heck of a success story using TeamFi. We put together a case study on their experience using them. You could find that on the resources tab in the footer of the GoRout website. Links to TeamFi and everything there. But that's good question. Great resource that we have. Another one here. Back to you, Walk. Can Coach Walker share more of his pregame suggestions with setting up the watches? I assume that's in regards to different teams and lineups that you input.
Yeah, so I mean, what we would do, or what I did last year is we would go in and we knew we had to add every team. So we knew our schedule, add the team. That week, we're playing a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday. That Monday, we're starting to input all the players that we expect to be in the lineup and putting them in there. And then we go through our spray charts or our notes from previous years or any video we've been able to watch. And we go in and put those in, during the week before we play. So if we're traveling, 10 hours or even just 2 hours, that's usually loaded in by Thursday night. So when we hit start game, those guys are in, the notes are in, and select the hitter, and everything's out to those players. So we have a positioning coach that puts that in on that end. On the pitching end, we've kind of got everything preloaded, and then offensive end is preloaded. All those are done at the beginning of the year. Obviously, you go in and modify anything at any time. If you're in a series, a 3-day series or 2-day series, you're recognizing, wow, my note on this guy or this girl is not exactly what we thought. Well, or in between games or during the game, you just go in as Jeff showed, where you can adjust the notes on that player, and it saves it right there. They're getting updates, but it's something that we're not doing right before a game. We're getting that out of the way during the week of preparation.
All right. Unless there is any more questions, we'll give this just a few seconds. If anyone else wants to type one in. All right. Let's wrap this thing up here, gents. As a reminder, GoRout is the official coach-to-player communication system of the NAIA, and through that partnership, we get to offer some special exclusive pricing to all of you here, all of you who download, all NAIA coaches everywhere. On the screen, you see the 15% off all GoRout Diamond packages. That is for our 1-year deals any NAIA coach who uses the promo code NAIA partnership at their checkout will receive 15% off of that 1-year deal. And in regards to 3-year deals, which that's what you guys are on at Oregon Tech, you can get 50% off of your setup costs. That's 50 off the setup costs of your 3-year deal. Big savings can be had through our partnership here with the NAIA. Scan that QR code that is on the screen to be redirected to our NAIA landing page, where you can find all of this information and more, getting in touch with one of our reps in the process. So first of all, thank you to everyone that tuned in, everyone that downloads in the future. It's been a pleasure sharing this information with you. Looking forward to working with each of you in the future. Coach Walk, huge shout out. Love you, brother. Jeff, great job tonight. Thanks again to everybody. And that's it. Have a great evening.
Great job, Casey.